Hey, what's up, guys? Remastered Flex here. I just finished watching Raw a few minutes ago, and what a vicious attack that Brock Lesnar just gave to Seth Rollins. We've seen Brock Lesnar do plenty of attacks in the past, especially when he first burst in the scene. I think this attack here was about just as bad as when he attacked uh, that guy Zach Owens, who was the guy who only had one leg when he F5'd him right on the apron, right on the part of the ring post. And he did the same thing here. I mean, he did it to John Cena. He did it to Kurt Angle. Messed up their ankle, but this time the way how he did it on Seth Rollins' rib section, which looks even more brutal than when he attacked and hurt their ankles when he did it to them over a decade ago. This was probably the most vicious attack I've seen. I mean, you could definitely tell that Paul Heyman, although Vince still has the final say in whatever goes on either in both brands, you could definitely tell that Paul Heyman's influence has really come to effect on Raw, especially what we just seen the way how it ended with a random brawl out of nowhere with Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, the Usos, uh, Kurt, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, um, Cedric Alexander, Drew McIntyre, which I'm pretty sure that's going to turn into a a 8-man tag team match next week on Raw. But my goodness, what a brutal attack that Brock Lesnar gave out on Seth Rollins. That was probably the most vicious attack I've seen Brock Lesnar do in recent years. I mean, of course, we've seen he used to use the Panura lock. He broke Triple H's arm before. He's done the same thing to I believe HBK as well, and we've seen him do that. But this right here, this was brutal. I mean, from one F5 to another. First, he came out, issued a couple of suplexes to Seth Rollins. Then he F5'd him on the ring post. Then he grabbed the chair, sat down on it, waited for him to get up, F5'd him on the chair, grabbed him again, F5'd him again, grabbed him a third time, F5'd him 3 times on the chair. And you could just see the blood coming from Seth Rollins' lips after all the 3 F5s that he got. Now, the one thing that I didn't understand was that I know they're kind of not really on the Seth and Becky boat wagon now. But you just saw Becky standing back after she had already been attacked by Natty early in the night because she had attacked Natty before the show had even started when they was practicing how to avoid the disarmer. She attacked Natty before the show even started. So after she defeated Nikki Cross and after Bliss and Nikki started attacking her, then that's when Natty came out and put her in sharpshooter, like how she put her in his armor early tonight. But I just love it how they weren't allowed to go inside the ambulance truck and they just moved Seth Rollins in there. Then he pulled Seth Rollins out, pushed him off the ambulance truck, and F5'd him right on the stretcher. That was brutal. And I have to say that is probably the most definition of extreme that you can get from what we've seen Brock Lesnar do today. Also, the random brawl that we seen afterwards was just as crazy. The attack that Brock Lesnar gave Seth Rollins was insane. I have to say, like I said before, we've seen Brock Lesnar do many things in the past. We've seen him do many vicious things in the past. We've seen him attack Kurt Angle, like I said before, F5 him on the ring post, F5 John Cena through the ring post, messed up his ankle. We've seen him do it to the guy that had one leg, Zach Owens. But my goodness, this was probably the most brutalest attack that I've seen Brock Lesnar do in recent years, aside from when he uh, put Triple H and Shawn Michaels in the Canura lock, aside from the time that he busted John Cena's lip open leading up to their match at Extreme Rules in 2012 when he made his return. I got to say that this was probably the most brutal. I think this here was even worse, in my opinion, than when he busted when he busted Randy Orton open at SummerSlam. Now, of course, the punches he was supposed to do, but he went overboard and landed some actual real punches that caused Randy Orton to bleed more than he was supposed to. And then after that, he went on to F5 Shane McMahon. So that was brutal too. So I would have to say that those two were probably the most brutalest things he's done in this age right here since he's come back. That's probably the most brutalest two things that he's done. I would say is the most vicious. Of course, like I said, he did bust John Cena's lip open, and that was pretty bad as well. But I think this right here was extremely crazy, and then the way how the commentary played it off was just crazy. I mean, you had Corey Graves not wanting them to show replays of the footage, and it just brings the question. Brock Lesnar did not show up last week on Raw for the Raw reunion, but and I think in a way it was for the better, especially with the way how they had Seth Rollins that night. But it's interesting to see. Brock Lesnar. If it seems to me like compared to his last couple Universal title reigns, he's been Universal Champion 3 times now. It seems to me like he's making more appearances on Raw now than he was when he first won the title from Goldberg 2 years ago, and when he won the title again at Crown Jewel. It seems like he's making a lot more appearances on Raw. That's not to say that he's going to continue to do that, but it just brings the question as to if Seth Rollins is actually going to beat him for the championship at SummerSlam, or if he's going to hold on to the title once again and probably just not defend it for the next pay-per-view until like he's done before. That's the question that remains to be seen because obviously once again for the uh, fifth consecutive year, he is main eventing SummerSlam. Main eventing SummerSlam. He actually, when he first came back, he main evented SummerSlam against Triple H. Then he main evented again in 2014 with John Cena when he squashed him and with 16 German suplexes. That's when he started doing that stuff. Main evented the next year with The Undertaker. Main evented again with Randy Orton. Main evented again. Well, wait a second. He main event 2017. I believe he did. He main evented again with Brock Lesnar. I mean, he made it again when the Fatal 4-Way Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns into the fray. So I mean, this guy and Braun Strowman, this guy here, and last year, you know, lost the championship to Roman Reigns. So brutal attack, and man, I tell you, it was crazy. I've seen Brock Lesnar do a lot of things, but this right here was crazy. This was a brutal attack. And it just shows you how much the beast and how much vicious that they made him look. And you can tell that Paul Heyman definitely had a lot of influence in this. Paul Heyman definitely, even though he was pleading Brock off to stop, you could tell that he had a lot of influence on this segment here with the amount of F5s that he gave him. Because I think this was probably the most vicious that we've seen Brock Lesnar, especially as it pertains to attacking Seth Rollins. I mean, when you just look at the terms of attacking people, this was hard. This was worse than any of the attacks he ever gave Roman Reigns because he never did any of this to Roman Reigns. This right here, you saw three F5s on a chair, a steel chair. Then you saw him F5. First, you saw him F5 on the wrinkles. Then you saw three F5s in the steel chair. Then you saw him F5 him again on the stretcher. And this was actually not like the excitement that they had 2 years ago where Braun Strowman pushed the dummy off the stretcher when Roman Reigns got put on a stretcher. He pushed him off and said, "I'm not finished with you." Everyone obviously knew that that was a dummy at the time. It wasn't actually Roman Reigns because when they showed that clip, he wasn't even on the stretcher anymore. Even when he picked up the ambulance truck and pushed it down, Roman at that point had already gotten out. But this right here, this was all Seth. And for Seth to actually agree to taking this kind of brutality, you got to give him a lot of credit for it. I mean, I know Seth hasn't been getting the best fan support. And what's even crazier is that this whole excitement, you heard people chanting one more time, which just kind of showed you how much people are really starting to turn on Seth. Because the fact that they actually were cheering for Brock Lesnar to continue to attack him like this, you had some people booing, but you had a lot of them actually cheering, just like at Extreme Rules when they were cheering for him to lose his championship, when they were cheering for Brock to come out and cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. They were cheering for this as well. You gotta wonder, you gotta hope, you gotta start to wonder if Seth Rollins' character has really taken a lot of abuse and if it's been ruined from all of the things that he's done, all the things that he's said on the internet and stuff like that. Because at this point here, set off a match with Dolph Ziggler, which by the way, I'm not really I don't really care that Brock got involved only because we've seen Seth Rollins against Dolph Ziggler so many times, so it really didn't matter to me if Brock Lesnar actually interfered. We've seen the match many times, of course. Dolph Ziggler was mocking Shawn Michaels, which is something that he pretty much already does because he's been using the super kick for a long time, so it's not new. But you see him mocking Shawn Michaels coming out in the ring. It was a pretty crazy Raw. Started off with 24/7 Championship, R-Truth defending his title, retaining his title with Drake Maverick in a mixed tag team match with Carmella and Drake and his wife Renee. Then he lost the championship when all of them piled up on him at the same time. All the lumberjacks when the match ended. Mike Cornelis won the title. Now his wife Rhea Cornelis has the title because she made him lay down. She said if he didn't open the door for her, that he would him in his vagina, which obviously that's Paul Heyman writing. Started to get a little cringy, but whatever. It's still pretty funny. It was a pretty crazy night. Not one of the best Raws we've seen. You could tell certain things was definitely Paul Heyman influence, and then some things kind of question what the hell was going on. The brawl that happened at the end of the night, I can understand like why it happened, but at the same time, it was a little bit confusing. You had Carl Haynes and Luke Gallows win the tag team titles, which thankfully the Usos didn't win it. I love the Usos, but after what just happened with Jimmy, they did not deserve to be rewarded again, like how they were at the Elimination Chamber by winning the tag team titles. I'm glad they didn't win it, but it kind of makes you question: is this going to be another segment where they just keep fighting for the gold? Where at SummerSlam it's like another triple threat match where they just completely take the revival out the picture. And is this really the send off for the revival? Is the revival just leaving at this point? But you kind of question a lot of things. It was a pretty crazy Raw. The tag team match, the Triple Threat tag team match was actually a really good match. I kind of figured Luke Gallows and Karius were going to come out on top. I just had a feeling they wanted all the members of the OC, the original Bullet Club. I had a feeling they wanted all to be champions. I knew Ricochet was going to win the Gauntlet match to face AJ Styles at SummerSlam once again. This is like the fourth match at this point. It kind of defeated it defeats the purpose of having matches like this, having like number one contender matches when you obviously know who's going to come out on top. If the person who they are feuding with is just going to get a rematch. All it is just another way to earn a rematch. Is basically what it is. Instead of them firmly just handing you a rematch, they try to do these triple threat and fatal four and stuff like this. When in reality, we all know that the person's just going to get the rematch regardless, that they're going to come out on top. Now, I felt bad for Sammy because he was the fastest person eliminated by Rey Mysterio after Rey had eliminated Cesaro, which also makes you question what that can do with Cesaro at this point. It also makes you question why was Andrade on Raw. But then again, there is no brand split, so LOL. Brand split, LOL, don't exist. So it was crazy Raw, but I just wanted to come on here and talk about Brock Lesnar's attack. Obviously, you can see that the Raw has stepped up its game. I'm pretty sure the ratings went down this week. I pretty much hinted without even really taking a lot of thought about it. I'm pretty sure that the ratings compared to last week for the Raw reunion went downhill. I'm sure that it wasn't as high as previous ratings. I'm pretty sure that that was the case. I just know how people are. They only tuned in mostly because of the legends, but back with the regular show thing, this was probably not the same. So again, man, Brock Lesnar for brutal attack, uh, man, and it's be interesting to see what happens, what they say about Seth Rollins next week. Obviously, I know it's a part of the script, but man, it really did look brutal. This was a hell of an attack that he gave to Seth Rollins. We've seen Brock Lesnar do a lot of things before, but this right here was probably the most vicious he could have been in this era. Of course, he's done much worse things, like I said, when he first arrived in the scene. But this in this era right here, since he's come back, I probably would say, aside from when he busted Randy Orton's head open, which wasn't scripted to happen the way that the bleeding went, this was just about as vicious as that was. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Um, I was thinking about doing a video about the Raw reunion last week, but it was kind of hard to really touch on it because I mean I liked it, but the problem was that a lot of the legends they had a lot of excitement backstage, and you really didn't get to see enough of them. And also the fact that you didn't really elevate any of the current superstars, which is something that they always seem to do when legends come back. So for that, uh, I just didn't find it as a reason to really go over it. So hope you guys enjoy. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys.